What truth is not? What truth is not? This is very popular, and this one, all nations are being run on this theory, on this ideology, which is not truth, and it's not the truth. It could work, it could be a blessing, just like every other thing I've said. They could all work. God gave all of them to us, but they are not the truth. They are not truth. They don't determine the truth. They could be used, temporarily, but they don't represent the truth. So the point today is truth is not what the majority believe. Truth is not what the majority believe. Truth is not what the majority believes. That is to say, truth is not democracy. All right? Truth is not democracy. Truth does not campaign, and it does not go for elections. So truth doesn't need to be voted for. But even though whole nations and the rest of the world were embracing votes and democracy as the only way out, but the democracy is, has its own fault as well, and its own inadequacies, and democracy is not always right too. And the rule of the majority is not always, like for example in America now, the whole country is divided into two. The fact that Donald Trump won didn't really mean that he had most votes, because some people said that Hillary Clinton actually had more votes, popular votes. So more people, majority, actually voted for Hillary Clinton by 3 million votes, but she never became the president. So your majority is not always right. And the fact that even Trump became the president doesn't mean that the whole country is supporting him too. So that I mean, they are fighting against him every day. But even besides that, all over the world, people are selling democracy. They are saying you are not democratic, but the majority is not always right. Majority is not always right. For example, one of the most terrible examples of that was Hitler. Hitler was not. It didn't come through coup d'etat, and Hitler didn't come to power through gun and military power. Hitler was elected. There's a German girl here with us, no offense, but the people themselves voted for this man. So the fact that they voted for him and he became the ruler of the country doesn't make that majority to be right. And so when people make a big fuse and talk about democracy today, Africa, you are not democratic, the fact that you even have democracy doesn't mean that you are doing the right thing. So Hitler was elected, and even in Russia, this Bolshevik communist regime that ruled Russia for 70 years, they call them Bolsheviki. You know what Bolsheviki means in Russia? Yeah, they call them Bolsheviki. Bolsheviki means the majority. Bolsheviki means majority. So they were the majority out of all the political forces that were vying for that position. But the fact that they are majority doesn't make them. Look what they did. It was a massacre. It was a rule of terror. It was genocide. Just behind Hitler. So majority is not always right. Like for example, right now in America, it's sad what is happening in that country, because from what I see, it's like the whole country, almost majority of the states now support gay marriage or something like that. I think it's majority. And even Obama had the Supreme Court to make it a law. So a lot of things that people do, even though they are the majority, in fact, they make not just gay to be allowed in America, they even started pressing and charging other countries and putting political pressure on them to do the same thing. And almost all Western countries started following after America immediately. Anything America does, all Western countries begin to do the same thing. So the fact that they are the majority or the richest country, majority doesn't represent truth. Majority is not always right, and majority does not always represent the truth. Let me tell you another story about majority, where majority was wrong. Our Lord Jesus Christ, there was an opportunity to release him. Pilate wanted to release him. And he said, okay, you choose. He was telling the Jews that he told them, you choose who I should release to you. Should I release Jesus Christ of Nazareth, or should I release the other man who is a criminal, Barabbas? They used to call that one Barabbas. In Luke chapter 23, it's from verse 13 to 19. You know what the people said? Majority. I mean, he was counting votes. And majority, they didn't even vote. He was screaming, give us Barabbas, give us Barabbas. And, you know, he said, but this one is an innocent man. He said, but I don't see any fault in him. The majority carried the vote. And we know it's the will of God. But that's just an example for you to know that the majority is not always right. It's not always right. Let me give you another example of a situation where majority was not right. Do you know the old world, the old civilized world, used to think, especially the church used to think like this, used to think that the earth is the center of the world, and that the universe is rotating. We are the center. They are the whole universe is the one rotating around us. We are so big. But Galilei came forward with his theory because he's a scientist. He had to prove it. He came forward and proved that no, we are actually small. We are not as big as we thought we were. And we are not as significant. I mean, compared to the universe, we are nothing. And that it is we who are rolling. We are not feeling anything. Where are we rolling? Nothing is rolling. You know what they said? They said, for saying that, they said, we give you 2 months to recount. You have to denounce your scientific. You are saying you must deny science. And science, you know, is science. You know, 2 plus 2 is 4. They said, no, you must deny that it's not 4. He said, this is proven. He said, no, because according to the Bible, they were using the Bible. Because they would believe in creation. So, you know, they sentenced the guy. He died in solitary confinement for the rest of his life. I think it was for 25 years or something. Everybody believed that they did the right thing. The majority is not always right. There is another man they call Michael Servetus. Michael Servetus. I don't know if you have heard about it, but medical students should have heard about it. Because he's the one that is credited with discovering pulmonary circulation. Pulmonary circulation. He's the one that is credited for discovering it. Now, he was condemned for discovering that for all the scientific something was evidences he was proven first of all by the Catholic Church, condemned him and said they sentenced him to die. So he ran from, thank God, he was living during the time of Reformation. Martin Luther, John Calvin, he was living that time. So he ran from Italy to Geneva because in Italy, the Catholics were in charge, but they were in charge politically. But in Geneva, it was the Protestants that were there. So he ran to Geneva to hide under the Protestants, believing that the Protestants would protect him. You know who eventually sentenced him? The Protestants sentenced him and ordered that he would be burnt on the stake. This man was arrested, tortured, and burned at the stake. Fire, petrol, for discovering what is benefiting all of us today. You know who did this? The reformers. The most progressive people of that time. You know who signed the paper? John Calvin. This is how vicious religion could be. So today now, a lot of people are speaking this. That's why I'm not intimidated. I'm not fazed at all by the fact that I'm speaking the truth. And everybody is attacking me. All the big churches, all the big movements are thinking that I've gone into error. That I'm in error. But that's what they at least now they are not killing me. They are just shouting. But in those days, they were killing them for real. And because they so much believed that those guys were in error. But guess what? The people they killed, 200 years passed, 300 years passed. But they were truth will always vindicate you. There is nothing we can all do against the truth, only for the truth. Truth vindicated Galileo Galilei. Truth vindicated Michael Servetus. Truth, so that's what I'm saying, that the majority might be right for now, but truth will be right eventually. Truth, always stand on the side of truth, my brothers and sisters. Always choose the path of truth. Even if you need to give your life for it, always choose the path of truth. Don't even look at majority at all. So people will tell me, okay, why, if you are so right, why is it that nobody else is saying the same thing? I don't care why. I am on the side of truth, that's what matters. And one person on the side of truth is a majority. I am already in the majority before God. Because if God is for you, it doesn't matter who is against you. If God is on your side, I'm already majority. Even if you have 7 billion on your side. But me and God, we are majority together. We are more than you. So don't ever bother yourself about majority decisions or about majority opinion or about public opinion. Forget about public opinion. Forget about what majority people are thinking. So, another thing people are telling me is that, Pastor Sunday, why do you think that you know this thing and all our fathers? The fathers? You know how many big churches they have, how many people following them? These fathers that have been serving God all these years, how could we say they are wrong? How can the fathers be wrong? No, fathers cannot be wrong. I don't care, fathers or mother or grandfather. Or, if it is, I know this is the truth. I don't care who is on the other side. As long as I know this is the truth, I stand on it. Let me be the only one standing. Because one on the side of truth is a victor. One on the side of truth is a winner. You will win any battle if you're on the side of truth. So I would just like you all to please realize and come to the conclusion that majority and all those kinds of talk, they will never sway you. That the only thing that will sway you is the position of truth. Find out where the truth is and align yourself with the truth. Yeah, it might not be in my lifetime, but sooner or later, all these my ideas, all these my theses, all these my books, all these my writings, all of them will be celebrated worldwide. I'm in a good company. The people, my contemporaries who had gone before me, but I call them my contemporaries, they've suffered the same thing. They were all rejected. In fact, there is nobody that is truly great that is totally, acknowledged and celebrated in their lifetime. They will always, because why? If you understand everything I'm saying in my lifetime, it means we're in the same position. But that's what makes the great great. They see before all others see. They go forward before all others come and catch up. All others will still come and catch up because truth will come and catch up. Truth will catch up with them. That's what makes a great leader great. He sees before others sees. He goes before others. So don't you ever bother yourself that you are not in the majority. Don't you ever think that you don't have millions in your church. Don't you ever think that you are just only one talking like that. Just make sure you are on the side of truth. Because one on the side of truth is a majority as well. Just like one on the side of God is a majority. So like the story of Galileo Galilei should encourage you. The story of Michael Servetus should encourage you. The story of even civil rights movement in America should encourage you. There was a time that majority of the American society and the Western society supported slave trade. And those who said slave trade were wrong were regarded as savages. They were humiliated. They were embarrassed. They were beaten. They were shamed. Now, even the very descendants and children and grandchildren of those people who supported it, they are now ashamed. Well, I remember when I was in Tennessee, in America, they were telling me they would, even though this place, they used to have old slaves. And that, but they said they would rather have me as a black African man to live in their town, in their village, than half the northerners. People come from New York and other places like that. they still hate them also today, almost 200 years has passed after the war. After the war. They still hate them up to now. So they said, but I said, let's talk. We are Christians, huh? Because they are Christians. I said, so let's face it. So all of them started telling me, America, they like to tell stories. They were telling me stories. Oh, my grandfather fought in the something. We were in the army of the general something who was the general of the Confederation. Oh, I have the Confederation flag. Oh, they were giving me the medal. This is the medal, the Confederation. All of them were just telling their stories and they were, bragging on it. Oh, this one say, oh, we had a farm, we had this plantation. So I was saying, but this man was fighting that there will be no slaves. I said, let's just talk now. I'm not politically correct. So me, I'm from Africa. I don't know the word political correct. So just tell me what you feel now, what you now feel. Because all of you are saying you have 30 slaves here, we have 100 slaves here, we have 200 slaves. So you all know. So what do you now think about that? Even that war that you are talking about, that they were not fair to us, even though we lost the war, but we don't agree. So I said, what do you now think about it? They said, well, we never think about that. We don't, we just move on. It's okay. So I said, no, you just tell me from your heart. I want you to, because people are avoiding, that's the problem. You remember the levels of truth that we went through? 5 levels of truth. The first level of truth, people are trying to avoid it. They don't want to look in the mirror. So I tell them, you look in the, just look in the mirror. Just look at it and say, I am this. They said they are so embarrassed to even imagine that I'm the grandson or grandchild of somebody who was selling human being. Oh, he's gone. I said, no. I said, since I'm the guest speaker and I'm the big man, I'm the man of God, they invited. They were expecting me. So I told them to do what. So they started coming out and they started saying that we can't understand it. Even their own children now cannot support them. They said, we cannot understand it. They said, we are even ashamed. We don't want to talk about it. Even though we are proud of our heritage and grandparents, but we should understand. So other ones came and said, oh, it's because of the time. It was the time like that. Time. Everybody believed majority. You say, people like majority. So that's why I'm saying, don't do things that your children will be ashamed of you again later on. Don't be talking about majority. Don't just do things because people are doing it. Stand for truth. Stand for what is right at any time. And don't be ashamed of standing, even dying for what is right. Can you imagine that up till even the 40s, even the 50s, in some states in America, you cannot marry, you cannot even date a white person. Hey, what is there? You cannot even date. Why am I talking about date? You cannot even enter the same bus. If you enter the same bus, you must go and sit at the back. You cannot even sit yourself. No seats for you. You cannot even go to the same restroom. So a majority, I'm not saying some one person or two person. This majority was supporting this. So majority, I'm not moved. Let the whole majority say all these things I say are wrong. But the truth will overtake them, and the truth will show forth. So don't change your positions just because it's majority. Truth is always truth. Always find out where the truth is and stand on the side of truth. Now, let me tell you another very pathetic story. This one you'll not believe it. In 1844, a medical doctor named Ignaz Philipp Semmelweis, who was assistant director at the Vienna Maternity Hospital, suggested to the doctors, this was 1844, that the high rate of death, I'm sure you've heard the story, of patients and new babies was due to the fact that the doctors attending them were carrying infections from the diseased and dead people whom they had previously touched. You know, there were just few doctors those days and nurses. So Semmelweis ordered doctors to wash their hands with soap and water and rinse them in a strong chemical before examining other patients. He tried all through his life to get doctors convinced about his findings. And so that the doctors will be, if they cannot do chemicals, at least let them wear white, clean gloves or clothes in their hands. He battled this for the rest of his life and he failed. The whole country revolted against him. He's the troublemaker. And the medical science rejected him. The medical practice. They ostracized the man. Because he said he should be using gloves. Today they will remove his license. And say he cannot practice. However, the majority disagreed with Semmelweis, and they deliberately disobeyed his orders. In the late 19th century, 100 years later, on the basis of the findings, so he started writing, he documented his findings and died. Just like I'm doing now. Make you not take me, make you not accept them. Me, I'm good, I got the right. I will die, somebody will find it, will discover what I've written. So they discovered his work and started doing research. And then the man that discovered his work is called Joseph Lister. Joseph Lister. So he began soaking surgery instruments, the operating table, his hands, and the patients with carbolic acid to wash them. The results were astonishing. What was previously risky surgery now became routine success. However, still, the majority of the councils of doctors and science of that time rejected it. Even though he was more successful, they ostracized him. Criticized his work also. Today, we know the truth. You don't even need to, even if you are not a medical doctor or nurse, if you just go to the hospital, they want you to wear something to do something. Why? Because we know the truth. 200 years, people were fighting for this. To them, it was elementary because they went ahead of their time. So majority, you know what majority is. Now, sterilization is just like elementary everywhere. Elementary. Wash your hands. What's difficult there? But because it's not the way we have always been doing it, people always want to do things the way they've always been doing it. Now, wow. God forbid. So these are just a lot of evidences and a lot of examples I could bring to you today, but I thought I should read that one to you. Of course, the story of Pilate. Then Pilate, when he had called together the chief priests, the rulers, and the people, said to them, "You have brought this man to me as one who misleads the people. And indeed, having examined him in your presence, I have found no fault in this man." Can you imagine? He said he didn't even find fault concerning those things of which you have accused him. No, neither did Herod, for I sent you back to him. And indeed, nothing deserving of death has been done by him. So we should release him. Either release him, for it was necessary for him to release one of them at the feast. And they all cried out at once, saying, "Away with this man, release to us Barabbas, who had been thrown into prison for a certain rebellion made in the city and for murder." So they released the murderer and they crucified my Lord. That's majority for you. So majority is not always, the majority is not truth. Majority is not what, truth is not what majority believes. Truth is not always in the majority. It could be true sometimes on the side of majority, but it's not like a panacea that is always, no. Sometimes, yes, majority could be right, but not all the time. You remember the story of Samuel Samuel and Saul, right? When he waited for so many days and Samuel didn't come, the people started pushing him and said, majority told him, do the sacrifice yourself. What's the difference? You are the king now. So when Samuel showed up, the prophet, and said, what did you do? But I said you should wait. He said, well, I waited for so very long and you didn't come. He said, but I told you not to do anything before I come. He said, yeah, but the people pushed me. Okay, since the people push you, and these people you are listening to, he said the throne has been taken from you. So the majority is not always right. Even Israel itself, look at Israel. God said, I am going to be your Lord, the God over you. I'm the king over you. I'm going to be your king. I'm going to be your king. You are going to be a special people. I am going to be your Lord and your king. You are not going to be like other nations where they have kings that are chosen by men. When the people got tired of God, and they demanded that no, we are tired of you. No, let's just be like other men. Just majority. This man of God, Samuel, cried and wept and appealed to them. Please, this is God you are rejecting. They said, but what's the difference? But other people, you see other people, they have kings now. So why should we be worse? We also want like other people. Just let us be like other people. The majority influenced them to want to be, and the majority also voted here that they want to be on the side of majority. And we know what happened. Israel collapsed. Out of 12 tribes, only 2 left. Total catastrophe. In fact, they were dispersed all over the world. None of them was left there. Palestinians took over their land. Horrible consequences. Just because people follow majority. You all remember the story of Caleb and Joshua. Out of how many of them? Out of 12. Only 2 said, no, we are standing for the truth, even if it's not convenient. And the majority, 10 out of 12, they said, no, we cannot cope. We cannot stand against those people. They have 6 feet and they have 6 fingers and they are giants and they are this and that. So if you look at your opposition and you are using it to measure your destiny and your destination, you will always make the same mistake. Never look at the number of people on the side of your opponent. That's the lesson God taught Gideon. I don't save by many or by little. The only thing is that I'm there. If I'm there, either you are many or you are little, and you are already a winner. But if you are going to look at the numbers, you will always miss it. You will always miss it. You remember the story in, I think it's in Galatians chapter 2, when Paul rebuked Peter. Because when Peter will see the Jews were there, many, plenty, he will begin to behave like the Jews. And he would not like to associate himself with the Gentiles. Because of majority, you see. Majority influence a lot of us. Public opinion influence a lot of us. A lot of us depend on public opinion. Even Apostle Peter had to fall under that. He fell under that deception. That, people, the majority of the people are here now. So he said, okay, he doesn't recognize the Gentiles. So Paul had to confront him and said, no, if you are the father, you are a leader, how could you be doing that? Even if we are in the minority, let's die in the minority. But the truth will speak for us.